Hi, this is Bhavna, and you're watching India Today. I have the amazing cast of Tash divided by blood with me right here. Before I begin, I have to tell you that this is after a very long time that a story on Mughal Empire has really interested me. So kudos. I love the trailer.
Thank you.
Welcome to India Today, all of you. I
Thank you.
want to first compliment the fact that, this is a very unconventional kind of Mughal story that I have seen. For the longest time, we have heard about love stories, seen love stories on screen. But when I started watching the trailer, I was like, Saneem Anarkali to hai, lekin love story kahan hai? Ye to pura matlab interpersonal politics and everything. And that is
Trailer hai.
refreshing.
अभी picture बाकी है.
No, but even to be on board for something which is so rooted, at the same time, this is not a story which most of us are aware of. To be able to even be convinced at the script level to say yes, what was it about it that was like, okay, let us do this. We'll start in the same order as you all are sitting because that will be easier for me. So I will start with Aashim.
No, so rightly said. Like it's, I mean, the fact that it's not just about the love story, right? Like earlier, I'm sure like there've been so many adaptations जहाँ पर सलीम और अनारकली के बारे में दिखाया गया है. यहाँ पर I feel like on the script level when we've read it, the idea that it's been so beautifully established, all the characters, all the inter relationships that's been shown, Akbar और सलीम का रिश्ता अपने भाइयों के साथ, सलीम का रिश्ता अनारकली के साथ, and every brother, even Anarkali with Akbar, every relationship has been so beautifully written, and hence the portrayal of it becomes a lot more easier. So I think वैसा मैंने अपने experience में I don't think like the last time I saw a story about this was Mughal-e-Azam, which was also a long time back, and also that's a scary thought because Mughal-e-Azam में I mean छोटा मुंह बड़ी बात, but Salim was played by Dilip Saab, and there's it's a thought that obviously it bothered me initially because I'm like, how the first thing people would probably comparison to hai nahi, lekin how do you make it different, how do you make it refreshing, how do you make it like more believable in contemporary times, still keeping in mind that it's period drama. So उस level पे देखा जाए तो I think it was so interesting because कितने खेमे हैं अपने ही इसमें एक महल में जहाँ पर the fight is about the throne. There's a helpless father who wants to give the throne to the rightful heir, and his helplessness, his agitation, his the fact that he's built this throne, this whole palace and his kingdom at a very early age. He was made king at like when he was 13. So वो एक kingdom अब किसी को सौंपना. But yeah, I think the way it was written and the way we performed, I feel like it's a very interesting story, and I hope that it comes across like that.
Yeah, but even to share screen space with someone like Naseeruddin Shah, I mean, I feel it's a school in itself. Like you're learning each day when you are like, even when we talk to him after that conversation, I feel like we take away so much. To be on set and perform with him, what was it like, Taha, for you?
So the first time that I was actually told that this was before I even got the project. They had already had all of them signed on. And I was the last person to come on board actually. When I came on board, they actually revealed the cast to me that it's going to be such a huge cast. I didn't know what I was going to face with Naseer sir. पर मैं आपको ये बता दूं कि नसीर सर जो हैं वो एक अब्बू की तरह ही हैं, and as a guide, as an advisor, as a senior, as a legend, has always bestowed upon us, at least on me, some great incidents in his life. जहाँ पर उन्होंने where he was down, where he didn't have anything, and how he kept striving to become better, how he educated himself. So like you said, yes, हमेशा हर दिन एक सीख जैसा था. But more than that, I guess I was more inspired by his work ethic. वो हमेशा on time थे.
Yeah.
वो हमेशा I mean, of course, he's of a different generation. वो अपने mobile पे तो खेलते नहीं हैं. But
I can't imagine that.
Yeah. So I've always seen him with his script. I've always seen him mentally making notes. He doesn't have a pen like some of us do, but he's always making notes. He's always learning the lines. He's always adding subtext to the lines. He's always adding nuances to the lines. He's always adding inner monologues to the lines. It's what is subconscious. You see that जो वो बोल रहे हैं, जो lines हैं, of course there's the lines, but behind those lines, the life which is flowing behind his eyes is what you get to learn when you see his eyes and you connect, and he's in that moment. There's couple of scenes which I can see him right now, and he was standing right here. One of them he had to slap me in. I remember that intense moment, and I've always, I guess since the time I signed on the show, I dreamt कि एक तो टक्कर का सीन हो, एक तो मिले, and that came true. And that intensity, that rawness, all the performances of his that I have seen during my lifetime, it was all coming together in this one moment. And it's been I guess I don't know if I'll ever be able to work with him again, but this has been a child's dream to work with such a personality.
Only if Naseer Saab knew that people are ready to even get slapped by him to be able to share screens with
I think he knows.
But now coming to you, Aditi, I mean, I already told you before we even started that there are some parts that you've played before which has stayed with me even today, because, and that also gets me thinking sometimes. Exactly that. Oh yeah, Gilly Puchi. But I want to know from you, that also gets me thinking that I feel you're one of the most underrated performers in the industry. As an actress, I believe that you get your due, but as a performer, sometimes I feel that you don't get your due. When roles like these come to you, what is it that challenges you to be able to, because like I said, it's also a lot controversial on script level itself, because I watched the trailer and I'm like, oh my God, like there's so many instances where I'm like, यार इसका problem नहीं होगा, because आजकल तो हम वही सोचते हैं, knowing what the volatile situation is, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that drives you to take those risks?
That's what drives me, I think, to take the risks. When something is uncertain, like when you're watching a thriller, when the person hears that sound and then they go and open the damn door, you're like, idiot, why are you going to open the door? But that's the thrill,
Yeah.
The uncertain. But to do the uncertain with people that you trust, I think that's the magic. So if, just to take examples of like great people like Mani sir or Sanjay sir or people like that, it's like I wanted to become a heroine because of these people. I wanted to be an actor because of these people. I wanted to be directed by them. I wanted to be on their set and just absorb it. It's really hard. They really push you, but that's what the fun is, that you can be so childlike on sets where you are nurtured but also challenged. And you know that you can take as many risks and there is somebody to guide you, to help. It's almost like a child and a parent, in many ways. It's like being on a playground and being nurtured by a mentor, guide, somebody pushing you in the right direction. Yeah, it's trust. And I feel like even in this situation, honestly, it's a mammoth project. It's a part. Anarkali is one of those, it's almost like, oh my God, there's so much written and said and spoken about this character. And it's being played to literally you think of Madhubala ji first and then Anarkali, literally. Okay. And then you hear that so they want you to play Anarkali. I'm like, dude, why? No. But then when Ron and all came and chatted with me about it, it just becomes, oh, this is a new vision. Yeah. And I get to breathe life into this vision and work with this set of people who look at this whole scenario very differently.
True.
And though we are more culturally connected with the story, etc., here is a group of people who are looking at it just as a story about these people with crazy relationships, crazy power dynamics, this unbelievable love, which Ron always says. Sorry, I'm adding this here, but like Ron always says, Anarkali is a tragic heroine. And at one point, I was like, no, she's tragic for us, but for her own self, she was not a tragic heroine. She was actually a really fearless girl who stood by her love while she was being guarded in a wall, you know. So what an amazing girl, and what kind of love is that, you know? So
that's only in cinema. I think.
But cinema comes from somewhere, na?
I don't know, it's long lost.
No, I believe it still exists. But I'm just like, so these are the things that, it's the people actually also, and their intention and how strongly they believe in what they're doing, that makes me want to just dive in without thinking. And I'm like, you want me to jump from that cliff? I'll jump, no problem. But I want to be able to work like that. And that's the only way I know how to work.
No, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the entire packaging also. It's been mounted on a youth scale and it's lovely. But like she said, there's references at least when it comes to Anarkali and Salim, because we've heard of them, if not like seen extensively, but we know of those characters. But for you, Shubham, what was the reference point? Because these characters are somewhere lost in history in ways like we only hear. Like, I think majority of the audience will now be introduced to these characters only because of Taj Divided by Blood.
Even I was introduced to these characters by Taj, because when I remember Varsha called me. She's a creative producer. And she said that we want you to test for Danial. And I didn't know who Danial was. I didn't know who Murad was. हमने सिर्फ मुगले आजम के थ्रू सुना है कि अकबर, सलीम, अनारकली and maximum मान सिंह.
And history textbook भी है.
हाँ, पर
वो पढ़ा नहीं ना
वो उस टाइम पे
I don't even want to go there because I'm like, मेरे को भी याद नहीं है.
मैं अपने स्कूल गर्ल्स को चेकआउट कर रहा था, क्रशेस को, तो मैं हिस्ट्री पे ध्यान थोड़ा कम था. बट बिल्कुल कोई आइडिया नहीं था. बट जब पढ़ना शुरू किया और उसके बारे में फिर देखा ऑनलाइन जाके कि एक्चुअली ये लोग थे, तो समझ में आया कि अब ये पूरी फैमिली है एक. It's not just about one person or about one father-son relationship. It's also about Akbar's relationship with Murad. It's also about Akbar's relationship with Danial.
I think that's what makes it very interesting, your first question, because this is why. Because these guys, we didn't even know about them. None of us probably knew about Murad and Danial and the
family
other.
Family drama.
Yeah, it's a family drama. It's a great package.
On an epic scale.
Yes, very big scale, very nice story, family drama, सब कुछ है इसमें. Please देखिएगा.
Mastered.
अच्छा हमने वो कर दिया है मतलब अभी. But मेरे को ये जानना है because you know the first thought after watching the trailer was, is this fictional to a certain extent, or is it like drawn or like what is the reference point while even making this? Because we are touching on subjects which perhaps could eventually be questioned by people who are not aware about these things.
See, I feel like it obviously comes from somewhere. The essence remains. We've all, we know about the Mughals. But as history, you know how it keeps repeating itself. You have to it's not just one linear way of it, right? Like there's always people just add a lot to it, their own imaginations, their own characters, and sometimes it could be part fiction and part reality. But as there are certain characters that have been created, and there are most characters that have been a part of history, and I think it's been just sort of intertwined very well.
And
honestly,
like she said, no, go ahead.
No, but even if you go a lot of biopics that have been made recently and here and in the West, people do take a lot of creative licenses, you know. And also, I feel like even with history is retold over time.
Yeah.
And we know about it, and including today. And there is also oral history. Also, people choose to tell, even today, if I'm telling you a story, whatever, suppose I've heard a story about my family, and if I'm retelling it to you, I will choose to tell what I found interesting, or some connection that I made. God only knows if the original people felt that connection.
I agree.
Who knows? But I told it, and
over time it's just kind of like
it kind of
the Chinese
morphs
whispers.
Also, we
into
adapted
something-
to the current time.
There are
Yeah.
missing
and
pieces, no?
100% in this, some liberties have been taken and some, I'm sure, little fictional elements have been added. I'm sure, yeah.
But the liberties
100%.
are basically because it's from a different point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
And
only
it's
know
different
so much.
point of
Missing
view
pieces,
from
right?
like
They have to
the
piece the whole
international
thing
people.
together.
But the
Yeah.
international people just bring in a different mentality, a different perspective.
Yeah, and unbiased.
that
maybe.
also.
Their research
Yeah.
and their unbiasedness towards whether it be culture or religion.
Right.
For them, like she said, it's just a story.
That
All
you're
right.
telling.
And how can we, how with our writing, with every scene, how can we just move the story forward or develop each character more and more? And once you see it, which I'm sure you will,
Also has
once
to
you
be-
see it, you will understand that the writing is just so tight,
Right.
and it's not just an A storyline. There's an A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
E.
I
Yeah.
got that from the trailer
Yeah.
itself because at one point there's so many dynamics, like I can't even list it on my finger at this
Yeah,
point
yeah,
because
yeah.
there's just so
Yeah,
many
yeah, so
high
many.
points, right? One of the things that still stayed with me was when Akbar's character says that, you know, I don't want to appoint my next heir basis age or anything. It has to be on
Skills.
merit. I mean, and for that to happen at that time, I mean, it just feels surreal to me,
Yeah.
you know, because we still debate about age at so many levels sometimes on social media. It was woke of Akbar to do that at
Yeah.
that
That's
point.
why
Yeah.
Akbar the Great.
Merit.
SST books में था ना
It's
Akbar the
all
Great.
about
Akbar
merit.
the Great.
Akbar the Great.
But there are so many points which have been obviously adapted like that, right? What was the most challenging part too? Because I mean, to be able to be in that era, feel like that era, but also have a viewpoint of those
Absolutely, yeah.
characters in today's time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can't detach that, right?
Yeah.
Was that difficult sometimes on set?
I think that most of the characters, every human being, have only, well, technically, not us hote hain. There's 9 emotions, and then whether we were living 100 years ago, 500 years ago, or now, we all feel these 9 emotions, right? Which whether you be rich, whether you be a royal, whether you be a downtrodden or a thief, it doesn't matter. What actually matters is those emotions. And whether it be Salim, me, Anarkali, Danyal, whoever it is, their things about love. My thing is about pain. You know, Danyal is very righteous.
Yeah.
You know, very religious, wants to do the right thing, you know. So, I mean, these things can be related to even today,
Yeah.
you know, and I feel that is what is why this show will connect with the general public.
And also because हम सब में इतनी सारी चीजें होती हैं ना लाइफ में भी, हम सब सिर्फ एक पर्सनालिटी पे नहीं होते, बहुत सारे एडजेक्टिव्स मिलके हमें एक इंसान को बनाते हैं. So in this script, when I read it for the first time, that was my main takeaway, that everyone has their own, like you can literally see a whole different life to everyone. It's not like कुछ blend हो रखे हैं characters. Durjan is distinct, Mansingh is distinct, all of them, everyone.
Yeah.
इसी पे एक शेर लिखा था मैंने इनफैक्ट.
Oh, you
हाँ,
wrote it.
बता दीजिए.
Yeah, so when I was reading Salim also, I felt like there's so many layers, right?
Right.
So it goes like, मुझ में कितने मैं हैं, ये तो मैं ही जानता हूँ. कभी कभी खुद को पहचानता हूँ और कभी कभी जैसे कुछ जानता ही नहीं. So there's so many different versions of ourselves, right? And sometimes in front of your father you're somebody else. In front of your brothers you're completely different.
Yeah.
In front of your lover you're so vulnerable. You're so honest. So it's like there's so many versions. And then how do you actually like get into that and then create that and then make it believable and still be the rightful heir in this context?
I like how he's behind the throne for sure. He's like, Meko hi.
I don't know.
Salim is not behind the throne at all.
Actually,
No, right now he is.
no,
and
but
I
actually,
feel like
Salim is the
Aashim-
only guy amongst the 3 brothers. He's actually the one who's not who doesn't want
Because
the
he
throne.
wants love.
He just wants
He
love.
wants love.
He just wants an Anarkali.
वही तो problem
कब से
है.
अब्बू से मैं बोलने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि यार Anarkali.
I like how you're still in character. But you know, another scene now, Aditi, I have to mention is yours with Naseeruddin Shah, where he just tells you, I mean Anarkali, that you need to remember that who do you belong to eventually. And I think that was a very powerful scene.
Yeah.
But tell me the BTS of it. How did you even prep for it? Because it looks so natural on screen, but to able to match up to Naseeruddin Shah's, performance, were you nervous that day especially?
I don't know what my brain is or whatever. When the camera is on, somehow I'm not nervous. I like being in front of the camera. In fact, real life makes me more nervous. Like if I interact with
I was just going to say that. Like, this is more.
I'm just like, when I have to go to like a party where I don't know people, I just want to hide behind somebody.
You don't attend parties, that's why.
Yeah.
Like we see red carpets and I hardly see Aditi.
Same, because I just want to run and hide. But when I'm in front of a camera, I feel like, abhi to I'm in a playground. Chalo, maze karo abhi. But honestly, with Naseer sir, again, like, it's like when you're in front of a legend, it's first the basics.
Yeah.
Listen to what the person is saying, hear what he's saying, just like don't. My main thing was I can't shut myself off just because I'm in awe of this person. I have to hear him and I have to listen to him, and then I will actually respond to him. Also, I think Naseer sir is also a very kind person.
Yeah.
And my main thing when I started shooting with Naseer sir is that my language has to be clear. Because I don't want him to say, what? You children, you don't know how to speak. I didn't want to hear that. So I was just like, I did all my like proper Urdu or whatever. Yeah, because I was like, no, because it is a language that one doesn't speak properly every day, and it's very bad that
the
we don't.
enunciations are
But
very
we should get it right, and I wish that we were better at it. My mother wags her finger at me many times because I told you should learn. Anywho, but my main thing was that because Naseer sir, he thinks really beautifully in the language as well as he thinks in English, and so that was the number one thing that he shouldn't say. What did she say? and so, but to not be a goofball, but in all seriousness, I was just really happy to be there, and I think. For an actor to just be present and to listen to somebody in front of them is a huge learning.
Yeah.
And I just dealt with it like that. I was like, oh my God, I'm blessed to be here. Let me watch, listen, and learn as much as I can.
Right.
And I also had a lot of help. Ron gave a lot of freedom, but with Naseer sir, because he was so involved in breaking down a scene, blocking it, doing rehearsals, etc., etc. I just busied myself with that, and I just really enjoyed being around him.
I can only imagine, and I'm very, very excited actually for the entire season to come out. And on that note, I also want to know if there is a season 2 coming in already, because I know from whatever I've heard from people who have watched it already.
Which she's not. She's shaking her head.
They've been praising the entire season so much, and we already know. I mean, अगर first season अच्छा होता है, तो second तो मतलब आता ही है.
We don't know. We know what we're playing. I'm Anarkali, this is Daniel.
And like you said, if once it does well, it'll definitely happen.
I'm sure it will do well.
So then it'll definitely happen.
Okay, on that note, thank you so much. Your video with Dharmender ji was so loved all over the social media. It went viral. I want to know, was it an impromptu thing that you did, or was it like planned?
It was actually kind of, so there was a photographer sitting behind me and said, धर्म जी है वैलेंटाइन डे कल मैं कैसे दे सकती हूँ उनको नहीं अच्छा होगा धर्म जी बैठे हुए इतने टाइम से बैठे हुए so I said good idea so I got a rose and I gave it to him. He's so sweet,
he is very
and so handsome. Oh my God, very handsome.
I mean, there's a reason why he was called the most handsome actor at one point. So,
I can tell you a lot of mothers and aunts and all have all texted me and said, we're so jealous.
But thank you so much and all the very best for Taj Divided by Blood. I hope that it does so well that we all sit for a success interview.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.